I got done this week is clearing out the shed and getting it ready for the stuff behind the 3,000 gallon to get moved in there. A whole bunch of progress on both the 1,200 gallon DIY builds here in the annex. Moving half of the grow outs into the 4,500 gallon Xingu River, and per request get a little bit of underwater feeding footage. So other than that, nothing else going on. Let's take a look. All right, where do we start? So over on the right hand side, 1,200 gallon, you can see we've got the plywood in on the sides and the back all the way across. And I had the plywood cut for this, but I haven't put it in yet because, as you know, we need to build up the wall for the filter there. Of course, another 25 pounds of screws. Always need more screws. And you can see over on the other 1,200 gallon, all the plywood is cut. So we have all the plywood cut, and the reason, well, first actually let me say, this piece obviously will be cut lower once the wall's built up. It's just sort of sitting there. And the reason I focused on getting all the plywood cut first is because apparently I live in Seattle now and it rains like every day. So obviously cutting this plywood, I want to do it out on my table saw outside. So, you know, I had one good day where I could cut the grass and cut this plywood, and it's back to raining. And let me show you something funny. And if you want to see something funny, that is what they call not a professional cut. That's what happens when it starts raining. So you're cutting a piece of 8-foot long plywood, 4x8 plywood in half, and as you're going down, you can see where everything starts off normal. Then I start to take a step back, and yeah, my assistant was laying on the ground behind me, so I didn't crush her. I sort of fell sideways. Of course, the circular saw is in there cutting away, and you can see I flare way out here as I fall off to the side over here, of course, and then I stopped it and I tried to cut back. And I mean, afterwards, obviously, I was looking at it all disgusted, but the price of materials these days, I can't waste that material, so we'll come around to the back here and I'll make it work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna triple up this stud right here. So boom, 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 and then I will screw in on both sides and then fill and fiberglass. So, you know, it'll be fine when it's done, but yeah, sometimes assistants can be a problem when they decide to lay down right there. In fact, you can even see the sawdust left over. Oh man, but I'll tell you what, it would have been funny though if I actually was have the camera on a tripod and was filming myself doing that work, because it must have looked hilarious. I mean, I was like falling backwards, trying not to cut my hand off, fall in the cat, you know, the whole 9 yards. You know, it all ended out okay, so it would have made for some pretty funny fail compilation footage, but yeah. But what are you gonna do? Things happen. All right, this is a moment I've been waiting for. Some of the mini monsters are gonna be moving over to the 4,500 gallon right now. So what's been happening is the flat-tail Procholotus and the silver dollars, the wide bars and the red hooks, they've been getting kind of aggressive, mouthing a lot of fish and everything, and also they're big enough to go in, so I'm going to move all of them. So all of the red hooks, all of the wide bars, and the flat-tail Procholotus will be going into the trash can on wheels here and making their way over to the 4,500 gallon. And as you can see, the shovel-nosed catfish, the arowana, the Oscars, peacock bass, they're not too far along, or not too far off, so they'll be the next batch to go. But I think they'll grow even faster in here once all these other guys are moved out. It's definitely getting a little busy in here right now, so yeah. I know I've been waiting a long time to see the mini monsters moved over, and it's finally happening right now. Well, as you guys can imagine, I had to lower down the 315 about 80% of the way, because flagtails and red hooks and wide bars are not easy to catch. So these guys got a, well, I don't know, 70% water change. So all the flagtails and the silver dollars are all wrangled up. This tank is now lowered down in fish population, getting a big water change. So I'll speed up the growth of these guys. And well, let's go check on the acclimation of the other guys in the 4,500 gallon. All right, the receiving end of the fish transfer. You can see the big boys, they're all curious because they can smell the chemicals from the new fish. So they were moved over in the trash can here, As you can see, it's empty now. Water everywhere from these guys sloshing. But what I do is, let me come over here, is I clip on the baskets to the top of the aquarium and I put the fish in there. And this is an important step. This isn't a temperature acclimation thing or anything like that. This is for two reasons. For the fish I'm moving over, I want to de-stress them. So they've just been caught and everything. They're releasing a lot of stress hormones, which is like just an absolute trigger for the big boys. You know, when they smell that, it makes them, you know, want to attack and everything. So we want to give these fish time to get situated and stop releasing that stress hormone, as well as I just caught these guys, so their energy is gone. So we want to let them recharge with fresh energy before we let them loose in the tank. So we're going to give the big guys a chance to get used to the smell of these guys, and then these guys to recover before we let them loose. Now you notice, or you might notice, the flagtails are not in there. And I had to introduce them to the tank separate because they're just crazy jumpers. They're up in that corner, up in the roots right now, but they were swimming around with these guys for a little while, and everything was fine. I mean, the young flagtail didn't act overly scared, and the monsters here, they were definitely giving them a look over, but nobody snapped at anybody or did anything crazy. So, in fact, you know, they just looked them over, so they're just intimidating, so it's not surprising that the young flagtail were kind of like, leave me alone. But yeah, they're de-stressing up in the corner. Essentially, they're doing the same thing naturally up in those roots as what I'm doing here in these baskets. All right, so all the plywood has been fully glued and screwed in. That can be done at this point. So you see here on the right side build, it is traversed as far as it can until I start building up the filter box higher. Again, I'm going to build it up as high as I can until to where I still feel comfortable filling in fiberglass in the bottom, and that's where that'll stop. And then I'll come over to the other one and do the same thing, you know, build the box up as far as I can. And again here, as you can see, all of the plywood is glued and screwed in, and I made the decision, rather than box around the pole, I'll just fiberglass the pole. It's already built into the tank already, so I'll just fiberglass that in. And one thing I just wanted to point out is when you're putting in the plywood, always make sure you just add a post wherever you need one, such that you have something to screw into, like over here where we had the messed up cut. You can see that's just tripled up, but you always want to make sure, you know, just add a post in, because you can't have flex. So that's the thing you're working against here is flex. So anything to make it rigid, which means you need to have everything tied in really well. And as you can see, for the messed up cut, it's basically just seamed all the way down with double screws on each side. So it is ugly, but in theory, even stronger than it would have been without that. And once it is fiberglassed over, you know, it won't be a thing. But at any rate, the main tank areas on both of the 1,200 gallons are done for now. The next step on the main areas here will be filling the screw holes, sanding, and fiberglassing. But I will pivot over to working on both of the filter boxes to get them as far along as the main tanks are right now. And so here's what I was looking for. For the first, 30, 45 minutes, all the fish here, well, they were all the way down here, just hanging out near the baskets where I have the fish acclimating, and they were completely ignoring me. Now they are back to following me around and looking for food and doing their normal routine. So they're no longer fixated on the new fish we're getting ready to add, which is perfect. It means to me that the I'm scared, I'm upset, I've been transferred to another tank, the chemical hormone that the fish release when they're stressed, that's dissipated, and these guys are back to their regular routine rather than being fixated on what's up here in these baskets. So that is excellent to see. I'm going to give them a little bit more time, and then when I feed these guys all the way over there, I'll go ahead and let out the new guys, and all should be well. So I know I've been thinking about it, but I don't know if I've talked about it, but okay, so we're building these new 1,200 gallon aquariums, but what is going in them? Well, what's going in one of them is everybody who's in the Amazonian Islands aquarium. It's been a long time since we've seen this aquarium. Obviously it's healthy, like the fish are doing great. Got the blue car breeding as always, the angel group doing great. They have the baby true parrots that were born in the 3,000 gallon when it was the Amazon tank, plus some of the bigger ones. So we've got like 5 of the true parrots in there. Again, a nice school of the angels, another one down over here. But the one part about Amazonian Islands that didn't work out so great was all that spider wood. The problem with it is that it's so much wood that's decaying, being broken down by the bacteria and by all the pleco in here, that it basically is constantly creating a ton of mulm, you know. So it's just an aesthetics problem. As far as water quality, as far as the fish, they love it, but it creates a ton of mulm, and basically it just looks like this down here. You see that sort of brown, almost looks like coffee grains or whatever. It's inert, it's not hurting anything, but it's not necessarily the look I want. And I notice I don't get that when I have very large pieces of wood. So it's kind of a live and learn. You know, when you add a little bit of spider wood to an aquarium, you don't see it quite like this, not in this massive quantities. But when you add a ton of it in here, like in this aquarium, it really does have that, you know, that detriment, I would say. And again, not a health thing, just an aesthetics thing. But at any rate, they're going to have a new scape in the 1,200 gallon, but these will be the first fish to move into one of the new 1,200 gallon builds. So remember, we got the schools of the small tetra intermixed with the larger, sort of more peaceful cichlids, or at least ones that won't eat big tetras. So I'm looking forward to building these guys a new scape in one of the new 1,200 gallon builds. And of course, we can't forget that once this 750 gallon, 6 feet side to side, 5 feet front to back, it's a deep one, and 3 feet tall. Once this monster, once all these fish are moved out into their 1,200 gallon home, because we're in Maine, they only go to bigger houses, bigger fish tanks, bigger homes. That's going to leave this open, so I know what's going in here, and it's going to be an interesting one. I think you guys will like it. It's definitely something that's going to fit this footprint, I think, better than these guys. We have a lot of front to back. We got 5 feet of depth front to back. So I've got a scape in mind for that, and I've got just the fish for it. So like I said, we're building all these new tanks, but we're also backfilling the existing aquariums with new setups once these guys move over. So I'm excited about these guys moving into the 1,200 gallon, but I'm also equally as excited about what's going to be moving into the 750. Okay, so the 315's had its 70% water change, and everybody looking good. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out with the new hierarchy in here. There's a lot of fish not here now, so hopefully everybody stays the same as they've been, and nobody mess with each other. But we'll see whenever you change things. It mixes things up. But so the way it's been right now is that the one peacock bass just lets the other two know that he's in charge. The 2 Oscars always stay together, and everybody else is just on their own, and nobody really bothers anybody. But so as you can see, half the mini monsters are moving to the 4,500. We'll check on them shortly, but everybody else is looking good, and hopefully they will continue growing even faster now that they have, now that there's fewer of them in the tank, and still the same amount of water volume, and of course, multiple feedings per day. Alright, so as I come next to the tank, everybody's coming over looking for food, I imagine. But what I want to show you is behind the big boys we have the wide bars and the thin bars. Everybody's in there together. The big bass is ignoring them now, which was not the case when they first went in. But everyone's still here and accounted for, and getting situated. Everyone's getting used to each other, which is awesome. Even the flagtail pocholotus, the little ones, they are up there somewhere. They were down here swimming around with the silver dollars, but when the camera came out, they went back up into the corner there. But I do gotta tell you, it was not without a little bit of a hiccup. When I first put the silver dollars in, you know, how I acclimated them so that they weren't producing the stress hormone right as they went in the water. So everything was good for a little while. They were swimming around, I would say, for about 20 or 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden, the big bass here, he kind of swam at one of them, and most of the fish just ignored him. They just sort of turned and gently swam away. But one of the silver dollars did the like swim real fast and flick his body around like real crazy. And oh my gosh, it just enticed the bass, and he just grabbed him. He had the entire silver dollar in his mouth. You could not see the silver dollar at all. It was completely in his mouth, but he really, really, really had to stretch his mouth to get him in there. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. But then all of a sudden, he just spit him out, and the silver dollar was no worse for wear. He just popped out and swam away, and no, no torn up scales, no messed up fins, just like nothing ever happened. It was crazy. But it's been another few hours since then, and it's been all good. They're all swimming around together. Seems like they got it out of their system, so to speak. So yeah, but that did happen, and it was crazy, to say the least. But at any rate, all's well that ends well, right? So these guys, they're as small as these guys will ever be. So every day as they get bigger in here, there's less and less of a chance of anything like that happening again. As well as I am going to be feeding the big boys here triple what I normally feed them. So we'll keep them nice and fat and happy while we give the new guys a chance to beef up in the tank. And I can't wait for the flagtails to come out. I come out from into the room and I see them, and then they see me and they go hide. But what are you going to do? Any rate, that's the plan for getting these guys moved forward and fully acclimated here. I would say I'm not going to call it 100% success yet, because there is a little, aggression here or there from the big boys, but fingers crossed. Like I said, I'll keep them full, and I'll keep power feeding these guys. So hopefully, we'll take away any possible risk as quick as possible. And then next time we'll check in these guys, and we'll be able to see the flagtails as well. So so that's the first batch in the 4500. It's definitely a lot of activity with those guys swimming in the roots and everything and schooling up. I guess one good thing with the bass, kind of, see how that, like right there, he didn't strike him or anything, but just kind of menaces them a little bit. It does force them to school up and everything, but I would like to see that activity stop. We'll see. It's a few, what are we, 3-4 hours in. So, and I'm here, so they're sort of in the feeding mode as well. When they see me, they expect to be fed. So I notice every time I look from across the room, when I'm not up near the glass, they don't act that aggressive. They only ever act that aggressive when I come up to the glass. So I think it's the feeding instincts kicking in, and those the silver dollars are right there, so they kind of get the brunt of it. So I think between me staying away from the glass and sort of power feeding everybody, we can get the silver dollars grown up past the point where these guys will even take a swipe at them. And yeah, we have some mini monsters in the 4,500 gallon. Well, I'm not going to lie, that was a little nerve-wracking watching one of the silver dollars go all the way inside a peacock bass mouth for about 5 seconds. In the grow out, the 315 grow out, these guys were getting a little crazy. The silver dollars and the flagtail Procha lotus sort of swimming around, especially the flagtail, sort of biting on the other fish and everything. So yes, technically the smallest of the silver dollars was able to make it in the mouth, but the bass was very it wasn't something he'd easily get in his mouth, and he spit it right back out. So hopefully they're going in just slightly early, that they'll grow fast in here, and like I said, everyone's going to be fed super aggressively to try to just bridge that small gap. But I think for the most part, they should be all right. I would be surprised if there's any problems. And like I said, the bass, they don't act the same, you know, when like when they stay up in the glass, you know, they're getting all feeding activity mode, you know, and then they're biting around. They'll even do that with the Oscar sometimes, you know, not hit them hard, but just sort of mouth at them to sort of say, hey, I want first dibs at the food. So I'll obviously stay away from the glass, and then every time I look in from across the room and I'm not the glass, everyone's acting chill. So, you know, hopefully it'll just go down as a funny story watching the one almost get eaten, and that it's smooth sailing from here, and that they'll all, you know, just pack on the size, and it will be a non-issue moving forward. Okay, so before I went to bed, I came down to check on these guys, and the bass were giving the new guys the business pretty hard. So you'll notice the two big peacock bass, the medium big peacock bass, and the big Oscar, they're all over here on the left side of the aquarium. Well, that's because I had to put the divider in. So it's a good thing that we built the aquarium with the capability of dividing it. So it could be divided that first section or here in the middle. It's been divided here in the middle. And then over here on the right, you see we have all the new additions. So the flagtails, which are out. Obviously the smaller Oscars and the pike cichlid, they got blocked over here with the new guys, but that's fine. They're not big or aggressive, these guys. But you can see we've got the flagtails are out swimming around now. And of course, all the silver dollars. And the silver dollars are even, you know, a little sketchy just with me. You know, they're not totally integrated yet with the tank. And that's what was just triggering the bass. I mean, the more that these guys would swim fast like that and react to the bass, the more the bass would go after them, you know. So I went ahead, made the executive decision. Again, no one got eaten or anything like that. There was no physical damage. It was just, you know, they were just really exciting the bass. So I didn't want to find out what might happen. So I went ahead and made that executive decision and put it in the divider. So try to make the best out of it. The bass are going to have to survive in 2,250 gallons for a little while. And the new guys, well, they're going to grow a lot faster being in here, that's for sure. It's also going to give me some flexibility with bringing in the other grow outs sooner than later. They really just have to be big enough that the Atabapo pike down here won't try to eat them, and then they'll be ready to go on this side of the aquarium. And again, that'll have them grow out faster. So we've got many monsters in the 4500, and I don't think it'll be too long before the rest of them get moved over here, now that we really just have to equate for the mouth on the pike. So as always, no shortage of craziness in the fish basement, but I think it's going to be all good in the 4,500 gallon. But coming up, I have cleared out the space in the shed. I have some shelves that are here that I'm going to be building in there, and I'm going to be moving all that stuff out from behind the 3,000 gallon into the shed, which is going to allow me to start specking out the massive estuary, marine estuary system. And just to correct myself from last week's video, I meant to say like 25 feet, 26 feet, not 35, 36. That room is not 35 feet wide. So it'll still be big though, trust me. It's going to be thousands of gallons. So either way, you know, but just a slip. At any rate, yes, we'll start working on that. And then of course the 3,000 gallon, there's nothing in my way right now, so I can go ahead and get cracking on that again. So be back to bouncing back and forth between the two 1,200 gallon builds and the 3,000 gallon, and hopefully framing out the new estuary, marine estuary build. But first I have to move out all that stuff. That's obviously not exciting to watch, but it's got to take place first. And if you might have caught it in this video earlier, there's a new shelf in the room of the double DIY builds, and you can already see I've moved over the food and the fish medicine and some of the additives and some buffers and things like that. So it's already started cleaning out behind there, so it is moving along. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.